While we wait, before we go ahead and talk about what you want to talk about, there was something I wanted to talk to you about. And it's an interesting NPC. Something that's very odd and probably elusive. As you know, there are 4 different types of NPCs. There's the normal guy, the old guy, and then we have a normal female. If I can find one. If I can find them. They keep on coming all over. Like, there's a normal female here, and then there's an old lady. Where's the old lady? I need to find her somewhere. There's an older lady, I know that for sure. I should have been more productive, but you know what? These people wander around my streets all the time, so there's not like I'm able to... There you go. Then we have an old lady. So those are the 4 different types. And as you know, in order to get them, they actually come around in these kind of houses, these residential ones. And there are 3 different types. The small residence drops 1, couple residence drops 2, and family residence, which drops 3. And they go up to that up there. Hence the, being careful of how much you put in there, and can go overdo it if not careful. But there's one NPC that is unique to the point where the character is actually its own type of thing. And I have no idea why this is the case, but apparently this thing has always been here, and he just magically comes out of nowhere. And of course I'm talking about Mrs. Mars' cat, Mr. Muffin. What is this thing? You can't do anything with it. It doesn't interact with anything. It just wanders around. And what's weird about it is that this is Mrs. Mars' cat. So you would think that once you push the middle school down, when Mrs. Mars, sorry, I have to keep on saying her name like that. When you place her building down, you would think that they would also drop this NPC. But you'd be incorrect. This guy just shows up out of nowhere. At some point when you level up, he just appears. And that's it. No mention, nothing. He's just there now. And it's very odd because this is the only NPC that doesn't get interaction or do anything besides just walk around, and there's no way to obtain it. He just shows up, which is strange. Very strange indeed. And what's even stranger is that there's actually only 3 animations where this cat actually shows up and interacts with one another. And they are as follows. The first one is Eric saving him from the tree. And mind you, these are just separate animations, so you don't need the NPC in order to do this. It's just, somehow it's just there. So if you summon these 3 animations, you'll end up getting 4 Mr. Muffins all over the place. But let me show you the other 2. The second one is obviously Mrs. Mar petting him, but it's not really petting, it's more like she's freaking out and the cat's freaking out alongside her. And for some reason, this one's a little bit more blurrier than the other one is. I'm not sure why. It might be small rendered compared to the other one, but I might be mistaken. But the last one, you might be curious, is this one. Throwing a ghost cat, which is involving, Andrew Craw in one of the many lives of Mr. Muffins he keeps throwing down. Now, you have to take my word on this, but before this game became live in the beta, I think one of the animations with him had the normal Mr. Muffin cat there and him throwing it down. I think they changed it to make it look less cruel. Like, throwing a real life cat down. It's not something you want to do, despite them landing on their feet, quote unquote. So I think they took the model of Mr. Muffin, colored him blue and transparent, and this kind of had him be a ghost cat. So those are the 3, as I know, animations that uses the Mr. Muffin model for something here, which is very strange. And like I said before, Mr. Muffin is an odd character because he's the only animal NPC that walks around. Heck, he's the only cat animal around as of now. I mean, that could obviously change in the future. But for now, this guy is just randomly here. It's very strange. Like, why does he exist? What is his purpose? Look at him. Why is he a tabby? Why does he look like Garfield? Is it a nod to the fact that they had Garfield as a game at one point? I mean, we know that Pookie's in the game in many different forms, but was this really the reason why they decided to choose a tabby cat? I'm hoping that's the right cat. I might be mistaken, but, you know, the orange cat. But, I don't know. It's very strange. Like, they could do any other color of cat, but they decided to go with this one. Garfield colors. Makes you wonder. And what's really interesting, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I might as well do this now, just in case. But Mr. Muffin wasn't the only character that was actually going to be an NPC. In fact, there were 2 other characters that were supposed to be NPCs that you may have not known about. You might be curious on who those 2 are. Well, they're in the game, and they're actually walk-around characters, and once you know who they are, it'll actually explain why they're the way they are. And that, of course, is talking about Cuddles here, and Trigger. If I can find the good boy. There he is. And Trigger. These 2 characters were originally supposed to be NPCs that you drop in, and hence when you drop their house, much like the NPCs here, they'll just walk around and just kind of be that, and that's it. And what's strange about it was, I think they also wanted to have the NPCs interact with the scene, so that, you know, just like, you know, them growing and whatnot. And this will explain, 1, why the characters didn't have a profile picture when they were released originally. And the big one is that they are the only characters that have no animations. They have tasks, but no animations. And that's why. Because they weren't originally supposed to be characters. They're supposed to be walk-around NPCs, much less like Mr. Muffin. But no, that's the weirdest part. I also wanted to say that I've incorrectly called him Mr. Mittens before. I don't know, they both start with the M, right? So it's not my fault. But I digress. But yeah, this is a strange case of the mysterious Mr. Muffin. The cat, NPC. Why is he here? Who knows? He's the strangest mystery this game has ever seen. And that ends this mystery. Or something like that. I'm glad that I wasted enough time, so I do apologize. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about something that you really want me to talk about. The event. Now then, as of the moment of this recording, the update has been revealed to the group. So they know exactly what this event is going to be and when it's going to happen. But it hasn't been announced officially yet. So I'm still going to have to keep my mouth shut. But like I said before, you probably know what this update's going to be based around. And if you want one more hint, I did make a poll talking about which book would you like to see in Valentine's Day. And let's just say a lot of you were looking forward to this particular book that ended up becoming the choice, and would explain my little bit of skepticism here and there. Now, there are some good news and some bad news to talk about. Let's go ahead with some of the bad news first. So, well, there's some bad news, but let me go ahead and go with the worst one out of the way. Due to things that happened within the company, the game's update will not be taking place this month in February. In fact, it will be taking place in the beginning of March. Yeah, a Valentine's Day update after Valentine's Day. It's the egg monsters from Mars all over again with Easter. I know, stupid, but it's what it is. Now, why is this the case? Long story short, there were game directors If you've seen my Addams Family playthrough, then you probably already know the story, but if not, allow me to go ahead and give you some context. Back in November, the content director for the game, The Addams Family, decided to move on to greater pastures, so he left the company. And then, 1 month later in December, the person, I believe his name is Paul, who was the game designer for the Snoopy's game, left as well. So now they are kind of screwed with no people doing the direction type stuff. So our good old friend, who has been the director of this game, had to have a helping hand with being the temporary content director for those games. Now, fortunately, Addams has already gotten their game developer, our game director, so he's our game designer. He's the main head for that, and we've seen it since the beginning of January. And they've really announced and introduced the new one, who is for Snoopy, and she won't be coming in March. But that being said, that kept them busy, and hence why we didn't have much of an update in December, and an update here. Now, that being said, there might be an update, a small one, within February. I'm not sure what exactly they will be putting in here, but they're not going to force anything out. It might be adding another, adding the 12 screen book, but then again, nothing's confirmed as of yet. But this is where the good news comes in, because the content coming up is a lot to be up a hill. So because of this, like I've mentioned before in the beginning, I think one of my videos, which I've mentioned, is that the plan is it's going to be, we're going to be having 6 major events within this year. And these are going to be basically bi-monthly, and they're going to be, far from apart. So we're looking at stuff like February, which is now in March, April, June, August, October, and December. These are the dates that they're going to be aiming for these main big updates as far as, events stuff goes. With that being the case, I was also told the plan is that there's going to be smaller updates in between the months that are not busy. So this is going to be like Simpsons Tapped Out in a sense, but instead of like big update, major updates type of thing, I have no idea what the smaller month update will be and consider of what they will do. They could possibly do something along the lines of what they did back in December. It's a possibility that might be something that they'd be doing, but I'm not 100% sure exactly on that. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see once May comes around, that we get a good idea what exactly we're going to be aiming for with when that stuff comes in. But by the sounds of it, they're not planning to end this game anytime soon. It seems like they're wanting to continue this game to the far-be future, so there's stuff planned. In fact, the other thing planned is apparently there's a big update coming up within this year. Now, they didn't tell me exactly what it is because they want to keep it a surprise to me. So I have no idea what exactly this update is consisted of. So, there's that. As far as the big update that they're hinting at, there are some theories that I want you to take with a grain of salt. Because these are just my theories, and as of now, this is all speculation. But the ideas, it doesn't sound like it is going to be changing the game's event to be that of the Battle Pass, like how the Addams and whatnot are, because it doesn't sound like that's kind of the big update that we're looking forward to. When they say big update, they're meaning like changes within the game's content, as far as adding new gameplay mechanics or something else goes. Kind of like what they do with Addams when they say a big update's coming, and then they add stuff like Assimilation or Catacombs. I don't think that's going to be the context of what they're doing with this one, but it sounds like it's that kind of ballpark of like big updates. So something big is going to happen to this game and change-wise. So And we're starting to see some changes. It's like back in October, we got to see double animations, which is the first time we ever seen that. So again, they're putting love and care to this, which is pretty good if they're going to focus their attention to getting, like, we might not get 12 big updates, but at least we'll get 6, hopefully decent ones as far as the themes and stuff goes. So here's hoping to that. So there's that too. Now, another theory on the big update, quote unquote, could be something to do collaboration. Now, I don't know 100% sure, because I know this is like they're able to do the books, right? Up until before Slappy World. But, as you know, there's a new show coming out for Disney's, Disney Plus, and they're already starting filming this in Vancouver. Appropriately, right? Because, like Canada. I digress. But, anyways, by the sounds of it, it's also possible that it could be a tie-in to this show in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if it's going to be a theme event per se. It could simply be a new feature that kind of courts, like going to another town, or again, I have no idea, but it's also possible that this big update could be in collaboration with this new show, so we might be seeing stuff in that nature. But again, I don't know for sure if that's going to be the case, because I don't think we're going to get the same level as quality as we got back when 2018 with the whole, haunted Halloween. But I might be mistaken. But yeah, this game is in the small period, so likelihood of something like that happening is very null. But I digress. But anyways, yeah, so there's big updates coming up and stuff of that nature, and kind of cool things like that, so I'm kind of hyped up for that. There's also another kind of bad news, but not so much like too big importance, but it is in far as when it comes to this type of stuff goes. This might be the kind of last time I'm going to be able to do videos like this as far as like announcements and stuff goes. I'm still going to be in contact with let's just say the game developers and all this stuff here. But needless to say, contacts that I've had within the company are starting to kind of go on their own pastures and kind of go to different companies, because they don't want to be in a mobile company for long. They want to do other stuff too, which I get. But then you get to that type of stuff, and then it's like, well, people who are more talkative, we're not going to get that anymore. So now it's like, who will I get? So as of now, I'm kind of in this kind of hole of, I might end up starting to not get any connections within the company, which is a fear of mine, because with certain things are going on. But I have reinsurance that they will be able to provide me with stuff and be able to keep things, still the same, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, needless to say, that's about it. Oh, long story short, TLDR. There are updates coming up with this game. There are 6 major updates for this year for alone. We're going to get the first one in the beginning of March. That's supposed to be what was supposed to be released this month in February. After that, in April, we'll get another update, a big one. So this is the second big update we have. But then there'll be May small one, June big update, July small, August big, September small, October Halloween big update, November small, December big update, and there's that. Oh yes, one last thing. They're also adding another special book within this next update coming up. And you might not know what it is, but let's just put it this way. It's a Valentine's theme update. And we can't do the Valentine Night Fever, because that stuff, like the Werewolf of Fever Stomp, is already in the game. So take a big, wild guess of what's the next special book that's becoming. So my fears will be answered soon. So yeah, expect lots of videos to come up within this game. So I'm looking forward to, like, this game is not dead. So, again, a little bit more patience. We just hold on a little bit more. And then once we get to March, then things should start to kind of flow nicely and we no longer get these null periods of nothing, okay? So again, just hold your horses. Hopefully by the time this video comes out that we soon start getting teases within the Facebook group. Not the Facebook, but the socials. So once that starts happening, then I can go ahead and say, oh guys, the update, but I zip my mouth. I can't tell you exactly what's coming up, because I know the theme and the characters and whatnot, but I don't know what they look like. I don't know anything about that nature, but eventually we'll get some teases and hopefully we'll get to show it off. But I digress. Anyways, that's long enough. Thank you for listening to my ramblings, and hopefully you enjoyed the beginning part of this whole Mr. Muffin thing. That was an interesting character development, I will say that, because he is an interesting one. Very weird, because I know people keep on talking about him, so I figured, you know what, why not? Why not make a video talking about Mr. Muffins while also, doing this type of stuff? So hopefully it's not too bad for you guys to keep entertained, but, I think you guys like whatever I do as far as when it comes to this stuff goes, so, that's it there. Anywho, I've been Grim, and I'll be seeing you next time for Goosebumps HorrorTown for Valentine's Day. Very soon we will be getting videos, so be on the lookout for that. Until then, what am I gonna... I don't know how to end this with this orange cat. I guess, with friends like these, who needs enemies?